Cambridge Academic IELTS, Book 19, Writing Test 1. Today we're going to look at the questions from Writing Test 1 of the Cambridge IELTS, Book 19, and I'm going to give you some sample answers. First, let's have a look at the question for Writing Task 1. Task 1 is always the same. You should spend 20 minutes of this task, and you're given a graph or a chart or a process, and you just have to write about it. The general training test, part 1, is completely different, but this is the academic one. So let's have a look. It says, the graph below gives information on the numbers of participants for different activities at one social centre in Melbourne, Australia for the period 2000 to 2020. Summarise the information by selecting and reporting the main features and make comparisons where relevant. Okay, so here we have participants. These are people who do a certain activity. The fact that it's in Melbourne, Australia is irrelevant really, but if we're going to say the name of the place in our essay, just make sure we get the spelling right. And then this section, summarise the information by selecting and reporting the main features and make comparisons where relevant. This is always the same. And then notice at the bottom, write at least 150 words. So it could be more than that, but not less than that. Now let's have a look at the graph that we're going to be describing. So here we can see it is a line graph. We have a key here on the right hand side, which has 5 different activities in it. There's film club, martial arts, amateur dramatics, table tennis, musical performances. It would help to know what these things are, but it's not really that important. If there's one or two that you don't know what they mean, you can still write the names and describe how the participants' numbers have changed. Notice that the graph also has a title, number of participants by activity, 2000 to 2020. And on this side, we've got number of participants ranging from 0 up to 70, and 5 different years that numbers have been measured. Notice though that we do only have the 5 data points. So these are the numbers for this year. It's not different months of the year, so you don't know how many were there in December 2020, for example. We have one single number for the whole of 2020. It also doesn't actually give us specific numbers for the years in between. The lines have just been drawn to give an estimate, but we only have these 5 data points to discuss. The different activities have given a different style of line. We can see that this one, for instance, is always at the top. That seems like something important to mention. Down here we have a couple of zeros for this is musical performance, so that's something I'm going to mention. I notice here in the middle we have 2 lines that cross exactly in the year 2010. That's something I would like to mention. Notice that this line for table tennis ends up much higher than it started, whereas amateur dramatics ends up much lower than it started. So these are also things that I'm going to mention. Just to remind you, here it says select and report the main features, that's what I've just described, and make comparisons. So we're going to use numbers like words like more and fewer and things like that. Let's look at my sample answer. From the line graph provided, we can see the numbers of people who participated in various activities at a Melbourne community centre between the year 2000 and 2020. The most popular activity in each of the 5 years measured was film club. This club attracted over 60 members, a number which remained stable throughout the time period measured. In contrast, no one participated in musical performances in the social club in 2000 or 2005, but this activity became more popular as time went on, with almost 20 members by 2020. The table tennis group grew in numbers the most over the measured time period, starting with around 16 players in 2000, which had increased to around 55 by 2020. At this time, it had become the second most popular activity. The Amateur Dramatics Society, however, experienced the opposite trend. Although it attracted numbers in the high 20s in 2000 and 2005, by 2020 it had dropped to below 10, despite an overall increase in citizens attending the social club in general. In 2010, both clubs had the exact same numbers of participants. Attendance numbers for the martial arts group fluctuated slightly over the time period, but remained within the 30 to 40 bracket. However, due to increasing numbers of table tennis players, martial arts dropped from the second most popular group in the first 3 measured years to third most popular in 2015. Okay, that is 183 words, so over 150, so that's fine. You could write a bit more than this, but remember that task 1 is only worth 1/3 of your overall score, so don't spend too long on this part. Here we can see from the beginning, it's not an introduction but an overview, so I'm just mentioning what we're going to be discussing in the upcoming paragraphs. Notice I have mentioned it's a line graph. That was not in the question, but added some extra information. Participants I changed to people who participated in, and instead of social center I've written community center. It's kind of the same thing. Okay, then in the first paragraph I chose to focus on the most popular one and the least popular one and make a comparison there. I've used the phrase in contrast to show a comparison, and I've used some specific numbers from the graph itself throughout this paragraph. Then I compared table tennis to amateur dramatics. So I'm not trying to deal with everything in one paragraph, but just dealing with these 2 activities. And I've chosen them because the numbers of participants go in the opposite way. So I think that's quite an interesting thing to compare. Table tennis started low and ended high, whereas amateur dramatics did the opposite. And then finally, I've mentioned martial arts. Used the word fluctuated, that means goes up and down, but not very much, so fluctuated slightly. And I've used second most popular and third most popular as ways to compare it with others. Remember that with this writing task, there's no right or wrong answers. This is just an example of trying to use some higher level vocabulary, use some good linking words, and use accurate data from the graph. We don't need to give reasons or in this type or opinions. Moving on to task 2, and our task 2 question for this writing test says you should spend about 40 minutes on this task. Write about the following topic. This is always the same, 40 minutes. The topic this time is: some people think that competition at work, at school, and in daily life is a good thing. Others believe that we should try to cooperate more, rather than competing against each other. Discuss both these views and give your own opinion. Then the next bit's always the same. Give reasons for your answer and include any relevant examples from your own knowledge or experience. Write at least 250 words. Task 2 is worth 2/3 of your overall mark, so it is worth more than task 1. So if you do end up spending more than 40 minutes on this one, that's okay. This is where you need to really focus your best work. You might want to do task 2 before you do task 1, just to make sure you've given it enough attention. So let's look at the question a bit closer. We've got competition here. So this is when one person's trying to be better than another person. And this can happen at work, at school, in daily life. also things like sports or esports, might want to mention those. The other view is about cooperation. So it's competition or cooperation. We might have a mixture of both, but make your opinion clear. So when it says give your own opinion, try not to have an average on the fence opinion. Choose one side or the other and give reasons to back that up. That always works much better than trying to agree with both points of view, even though you might be able to see merits in both sides of the argument. Just choose one. Right, here is my example answer. Competition and cooperation are two essential aspects of human interaction, playing critical roles in shaping behaviour at school, work, and everyday life. While some argue that competition drives individuals to excel, others contend that cooperation fosters more positive outcomes and a harmonious environment. I tend to agree with the latter opinion, that cooperation is the best way forward. On one hand, advocates of competition believe it is an effective motivator, encouraging individuals to strive for excellence and reach their fullest potential. In an academic setting, for example, students who face competition are often more motivated to study diligently, improve their skills, and achieve higher grades. Similarly, in the workplace, competition can lead to increased productivity, as employees aim to outperform their colleagues to receive promotions, salary increases, or other rewards. This drive for excellence benefits both individuals and the organizations they work for, as higher standards of work and innovation are often achieved in competitive environments. Additionally, some argue that competition prepares individuals to face real-world challenges by teaching them resilience and the importance of setting personal goals. On the other hand, many believe that prioritizing cooperation over competition leads to more sustainable, positive relationships and outcomes. In academic environments, cooperative learning models, such as group projects, foster collaboration, improve communication skills, and encourage students to help each other learn. This approach cultivates empathy and teamwork, skills that are increasingly valued in today's interconnected world. In the workplace, a cooperative culture can create a supportive environment that reduces stress and increases job satisfaction, as employees feel encouraged to work together rather than against one another. Cooperative workplaces also tend to experience lower employee turnover and higher morale, as individuals are more likely to feel valued and supported. Moreover, cooperation emphasizes mutual success over individual success, promoting a sense of shared accomplishment that benefits the organization as a whole. In my opinion, while competition has its merits, especially in driving personal ambition, a balanced approach that emphasizes cooperation is more beneficial in the long run. Cooperation fosters a supportive environment where individuals are more likely to thrive collectively rather than individually. For instance, in professional settings, a collaborative culture can encourage innovation as team members contribute diverse ideas without the fear of losing out to competitors. Similarly, in educational contexts, cooperative learning enables students to understand the value of teamwork, which is a crucial skill for future success in nearly any field. Thus, while a certain degree of competition may be necessary to motivate individuals, an emphasis on cooperation is likely to produce more fulfilling and sustainable achievements. In conclusion, both competition and cooperation have unique advantages in different contexts. However, a collaborative approach generally offers more comprehensive and long-lasting benefits, as it fosters a supportive and innovative environment. By balancing the drive for individual achievement with the value of working together, individuals and societies can better achieve shared goals. Okay, that essay is 479 words, which is more than you need. But I've given some extra information here. You might not have time to write this much. If you do, fine. There's no upper limit really, as long as it's at least 250 words. Okay, let's have a look at my essay here. So in my introduction, I've started with a general statement about competition and cooperation. I will also say that these words are quite similar. Make sure you don't get them mixed up, which can spoil the point of view you're trying to put across. I did say the wrong one a couple of times as I was reading it because they're quite similar, but make sure to check your writing at the end to make sure you've used the correct one in the right place. Anyway, I have started with a general statement, then I've paraphrased the question, and finally I have made my opinion clear in the introduction, and then I'll go on to discuss my own opinion later. Now, this is a bit of a tricky question because there are merits to both points of view. I have started with the first one that's mentioned in the question for body paragraph 1. You may wish to put your opinion into body paragraph 1 instead. This is just one structure example. However, it is clearly divided into paragraphs, and the paragraphs each deal with one aspect. So the structure there, quite good. I've used on one hand and on the other hand to present the two different points of view in their different paragraphs. So using linking words here, on one hand here, and then on the other hand. So trying to use two linking phrases that go together like that. I've tried to use some high-level vocabulary here, like potential, diligently, colleagues, meaning people you work with. Okay, and I've also tried to use examples from the workplace and at school. As a teacher, personally, this part about positive relationships, cooperation, group projects, and communication skills, I really agree with that part. Although I do agree with some of the bits in the competition model. So it is hard to have a clear point of view. So I have mentioned that competition does have its merits. I'm looking for a bit more cooperation, and you can have competition within a cooperative method as well. So sort of a bit of a balance, but with leaning more towards cooperation. And then here we have the conclusion. I'm just restating things, but using different language. So I'm not introducing any new ideas, long-lasting benefits here, whereas I said before, in the long run, we've got supportive and innovative environment. Okay, so that is the end of my example essay. I would hope that in a real IELTS test, this would score very highly, maybe around 8.5 hopefully. So thank you very much for watching this video. Please give it a like, subscribe to the channel for more like this, and leave a comment below with your opinions. Thanks very much, good luck with your studies, and I'll see you another time for another Traveller's Guide video. Goodbye.